Chronicle of the Crown, session 3, is it? Am I completely off base? Yeah, session 3. So we don't have Matthew today, and we're going to resolve that by having Glarvir, Tyrael, and Cameron will have discussed what we found in Vorbek, and there's some good information on what happened to the people of Vorbek. So it was determined that Cameron would make the trek back to Strathfell to inform Lord Beric of what had happened in Vorbek and what to expect, and perhaps to send some people perhaps to Vorbek to secure it, maybe as reinforcements to Glarvir and Tyrael, who are intending on following, at a rather large distance time-wise anyway, but following the people of Vorbek into the Weeping Weald, which is the ancient pine forest stretching north from where Vorbek is. It's a rather large forest, and it was the plan to track down the people of Vorbek variously to save them and punish them for being, traitors, I suppose, to Lord Beric and Strathfell, because this village owes fealty to Strathfell.
Certainly the guards, because it sounded like they flipped.
The guards sent by Lord Beric seem to have gone into the Weeping Weald in order to exact retribution there, because they're being terrible to the people of Vorbek. But when they came back, it was with the terrible people from the Weeping Weald, and they did terrible things to the people of Vorbek. So I suppose there's a variety of things that we want to do with the people currently in Weeping Weald. Yeah, it's a broad spectrum approach. Right. So we're going to start after the funeral pyre has cooled. Cameron has left Vorbek. The village once again empty. You did notice as you strode into the Weeping Weald these curious poles that you glimpsed in the light of the funeral pyre, which are it's basically like a spear length shaft of wood topped by an elk or a deer skull, and there were a number of these sort of on the forest edge, and all the skulls were aligned, sort of pointing towards Vorbek. You enter the Weeping Weald. Ancient pines, rather broad. They've had a long time to grow, and this species of pine seems to grow quite large indeed over time. It's as pine forests tend to be. It is quite dry in comparison to, especially Tyrael, your native forests. I don't know the terminology to describe the sort of ground further, but it's pine forest. Like it's quite low on high, vegetation aside from the trees themselves.
Well, the nettles from the trees and probably the
there's
carpets of the ground, but not a lot of other vegetation grows out of that probably. Especially if these trees are growing really high,
Yeah, the trees are very high indeed, and it gives a very airy nature to the not eerie, airy nature to the forest, because as pine trees go, the branches start quite high up on the trunk. So there's a very long trunk before the sort of canopy explodes from the various branches. And yes, so you have traveled into the forest. You expect to, take a while to do anything here because it's not recent. There's no tracks as such to follow. So you are basically reduced to
my elven eyes.
Yeah, trying to find any presence of inhabitation of any kind here. So as you make your way through the first parts of the Weeping Weald, what are you doing to find people here? What is your approach to finding anyone, really? Because you could ask the locals, presumably, if the locals you find are friendly.
Well, after coming out of the initial reverie of being in a deep and ancient forest again, it's been a while traipsing through human lands where they cut everything down
for the most part.
Exactly, really. They cut everything down, they clear cut for their farms and their cities and their roads, and it's no elegance, no thought, no care taken. So it's a nice change of pace. And this is, of course, Tyrael's element. So I think with Glarvir's, of course, consent and, of course, including him in the plan, I would begin the heavy scouting, which I believe falls under my... I think it's Rhyme of the Pathfinder is the one I'm looking at, or it could be Song of Path and Ways. It's one of those elf song skills that I have that... oh, God, I haven't even had the book open. Hold on one second. I gotta...
Rhyme of the Pathfinder is the skill song that mimics tracking. Okay.
Yeah, that's the one.
Then there's a Song of Paths and Ways. Let's see about that.
Yeah, that one's, I think, was that forestry maybe? I'm not sure.
Orienteering is...
It could be either, but I think we're tracking at the moment, right?
Yeah, that could work, yeah.
All right. So yeah, obviously with a song in my heart and the tune on my lips, and of course my elven eyes to assist me, I would begin to attempt to pick up any sign of human or similar activity. Obviously, a large troop of people being led by force through a forest is going to leave a mark, even if it was weeks ago, or possibly months ago. It seems like it was more like weeks, not months. Yeah, I think that's how I proceed. Unless Glarvir had any suggestions as well.
No, that's fine. You go ahead.
Okay, so.
And Bo always at the ready, of course.
And one more detail before we get on with this. The road that went through Vorbek and circled the old oak there, it does continue north, straight like an arrow into the Weeping Weald. Do you follow the road as you go, or do you go into the forest? The tree halls.
If it were it was Tyrael's preference, he would use the trees as cover, but shadow the road, essentially.
Yeah. So not on the road, but following the road.
I would prefer not to be on the road, but following the road anyway. Yeah, correct. Because obviously, it's going to lead somewhere eventually. So, and if this king of the Weald or whatever is a king, it might lead to whatever ruined city he's squatting in. So we'd eventually get somewhere. You know.
And obviously, all of this greenery and whatnot is more Tyrael's field of expertise than mine, so I'm quite happy to follow his lead at this point.
So I'm looking through the tracking here.
Yeah, just let me know if you want to roll out of me for
it. Yeah. We're gonna do a roll with your was it Pathfinder?
And the Rhyme of the Pathfinder,
yeah. So I think what we're doing here is, given the context, because it's a pine forest, we're following I'm gonna say it's obstacle 4.
Okay.
It's sort of like a middle way between following tracks on with different conditions.
Is that 4 dice? So yeah, that's actually a difficult one for me. Okay, just want to make sure for reference of that advancement tracking thing. All right, cool. So I'll go ahead and give us the roll then. Oh, as a quick, before I begin this, obviously we're hitting the section where I'm not sure if Glarvir has any tracking skills of his own that he could add into the process. Anything
to help with the tracking.
Well, I do have a little bit of expertise when it comes to foraging and such like, but I'm not exactly a master tracker. I was more of a military man back in my day.
Could we make the argument that his foraging ability would allow us to see if the forest around us had been foraged?
Foraged.
One,
what I'm saying?
one thing I could suggest to Rail, it may take a little bit longer, but obviously we have the stone road. If there are stones around, I could attempt to divine whether anyone had recently passed by the stones using my runecaster's ability to reason with these old stones that are scattered throughout the area we're in.
Well, yeah, Stonespeak has given us much information on this road already, so perhaps it would be worth doing while I scout ahead.
Indeed.
So, I
two
think
separate roles there.
so what we're saying is, well, we could say that. So, Glarvir, what is your opinion on how we're going to rule this? Rune casting, you personally can use rune casting to fork it like the human skill astrology, which is, fortune telling, much like your rune casting is. It doesn't say you can help with it.
No,
but I think we could stretch it if you want to.
What I was planning to do rather than that was I was planning to make a separate roll for my reason of old stone.
Yeah.
Like an obstacle-free roll for
right.
recent events surrounding the stone to see what happened.
So which one are we doing first then?
After you.
Let's start with the tracking and scouting.
So we head into the forest
so we don't
looking
get murdered while
for
he's doing
signs
that.
of habitation.
Yeah. And that way, if I run into any bandits, just in case they want to shoot Glarvir in the face, that would be bad.
And if you, of course, your intent is to find someone here in the forest, right? Like you could define that more strictly if you wanted to. Like you could say, I want to find anyone. I want to find someone who's native to the forest. I want to find someone who lives in a fortified location or like some other thing than a tent, maybe. Like depends on what you want to go for, really, or if you just wanted to find anyone.
I mean, at this point, I'm being probably very general. I mean, I have an idea what my objective is. Obviously, we want to find the people of Vorbek.
Yeah.
Obviously, if we follow this road long enough, we're probably going to come smack into some sort of habitation. Anyway,
find someone.
We'll find someone that way. But what I'm looking for clues of their passing. I'm looking for clues to any potential threats as well, obviously, because this is scouting as well. So, obviously, if there's bandits lying in wait, waiting to, jump on any travelers on their road, then I want to be able to shoot them in the face first. So, this is a little bit more generic. Obviously, keeping it simple for now.
Find people in the forest.
Yeah. Find evidence of passage and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Well, okay. So
keep that at 4 then. Yep.
Okay. So if we say find evidence of passage, I'd say that's a good indicator for you to then be like, oh, we have the initiative. Like we didn't find the people, but we found detritus, broken branches or whatever. Okay, I got you. So the failure condition here is if you don't get the requisite number of successes, which is 4. Someone's gonna find you before you find them.
Well, we don't want that. And I'm supposed to be this badass ranger prince, so let's not let that happen.
Yeah,
let's give it a roll.
And you can spend your persona if you want to add extra dice.
Is it persona or fate?
Persona.
It's persona. Okay.
Yep.
What's the fate ones do again?
Fate ones re-roll 6s if you get them.
So so persona 6s. Add dice to my pool.
Yeah, you get to add additional dice up to 3 per roll if you want.
Well, let's see how badly I do, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so you can't add persona afterwards. You have to add.
I got to add it up front.
Yeah,
okay,
which is why luckily I remembered it because I wanted to talk.
Thank you.
That.
Yeah. No. Actually, do you know what? Because I'm dead even for dice, 4 for 4, right?
That's a rough situation.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to spend one. One persona equals 1 die.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, this is an important roll. I think let's go for it. Let me just restart this roll real quick, and I'll add that in. But then the fate can happen after the fact, right?
Yeah, fate can you could do that after you roll to explode the sixes.
We're gonna add in one then. Oh shit! I had it in the wrong place. Sorry. Here we go. Okay, cool. There we go. Add one for that, and it's 4. Let's see how we do. Ow!
Oh,
Wow!
brutal.
Wow, and that's something I'm actually fairly good at too. So that is embarrassing.
Yeah, the dice.
All right.
They
They into the dirt. I'm like, I'm like poor Theon in the forest. I get it. Okay.
But this is again with Burning Wheel. Like this isn't an indication of you being poorly skilled. It's just that
the way it is.
they had you scoped out. Like you walked into it. Like they had their shit already.
Okay.
Well, if my time as a dwarven runecaster has taught me anything, you can't struggle against the tides of fate. If fate decrees something, that's simply how it is.
Quite right.
It's wonderful. Like Glarvir always has the answer. It's like it was meant to be. Like whatever it is.
Glarvir, right. They will come to find that we're not trapped here with them. That they are trapped here with us.
Quite.
Right? That's how this is.
That's how it's going to shake down for those damn oath breakers.
Indeed.
So what happens is you scout your way. Sort of on always like returning to the road, like keeping your basically like orienteering using the road.
Yeah,
because you've sort of clocked that the road goes basically straight north, and
that's very convenient.
You're sort of like weaving on one side of the road, always returning to make sure that you're not drifting off course. And there's a particular portion where you're cresting like a small rise, like a very small hill inside the forest itself. Like this is getting into the sort of foothills of the mountains, so it's not very even, the ground usually. Like usually there's some features going on, and you crest the hill, and you hear on the hill as it's sort of like a band almost. It's a line shaped hill. You hear on the right, fairly far into the distance, I'm going to say 100 meters or so, you hear not disguised at all footsteps. There's the heavy clank of armor, as you both see. This is, let's say it's daytime, a little bit before midday, and from your scouting, you are distracted by this noise. You immediately notice a person clad in, from this distance, neither of you really struggle in broad daylight to see like some details even. So it's a finely crafted but extremely worn. There's rust on some bits. Plate mail armor, looks like a knight. Carrying a rather large sword on the hip as well. Full helm, can't see a thing. There's the eye slits here, and a ragged cape. So this individual steps from behind one of these large pines and holds up a hand, and you hear some rustling on a number of these trees here. There's people hidden behind the trunks of several of these trees who like swing around on some. There's basically ropes, or if they can just leap, they do. But they're like stood on branches. You count like a dozen maybe at a sort of quick glance, like spread around this area. They seem to be carrying bows and probably some other kinds of implements as well. You can't quite see. And there's several of them are like pulling an arrow, but not aiming directly at you, but like they knock the arrow and draw the string, but they don't necessarily aim it straight towards you, but they're like showing like, oh, we're ready with the bows. And these people in the trees dressed more lighter, like they're not climbing the trees in plate mail. They're clad in various furs and rough clothes, and they do have sort of scarf-like things wrapped around their heads, probably for protection against the weather, but also for disguising who they are. But they have the like a slit in the sort of scarf head covering to be able to see you. What do you do? And of course, Glarvir, if you want, you can have your axe ready to go. I'm not sure if you do, but
yeah, my axe is out.
So are we or have
they're sort of like, you're on this low, long, like line-shaped hill, sort of in the middle here. On this side of the hill, there's the figure in the plate mail holding a hand up, and sort of all around this area in seemingly random trees, there's the dozen people.
And this is on off the road, on the road?
Off the road. You're not, you don't even see the road.
And Glarvir is back on the road, like somewhere.
Glarvir, where are you?
Where is Glarvir at this point?
Yeah, but basically, what's your method? If you're going together, you can just be there. If you're going separate, that's fine.
I think I'd have probably, given my urge to defend my companions, I'd have probably stayed pretty close to Tyrael. Because obviously he's doing, I know that while he's doing the tracking, obviously he's going to be a little less cognizant of his surroundings, so I'll have been sort of watching his back while he's been doing that.
I'm always cognizant of my surroundings, but thank you for the thought. But anywho, yeah. And as you said, they're clearly not aiming at us, but they know we're there. They basically acknowledge.
Basically, this was the person in the, as far as you're reading the situation, the person in the armor, like stepping into your sight, as if to say, like, we are here. And the people like drawing their arrows and whatnot, they're not aiming towards you, but basically that's what they're communicating to you right this instant is, we are here. So are you, and we are prepared to do violence. Now the ball is in your court. Without saying anything.
If you want to speak to them, you might want to get in there quick before I start speaking to them.
No, actually, Glarvir, I was going to suggest that you do the talking, and I was going to stay conveniently near a tree where I could take cover and do what I do best in case things go the wrong way.
In which case, I shall greet them with a rousing, "Ho there, vagabonds! Identify yourself!"
Vagabonds? Well, it's been a little implied, but...
There's some rustling from the folks in the branches, scattered rustling, and the individual in the armor and the ragged cloak like lowers the hand and starts walking, because it's like still quite some distance away. Starts walking towards you calmly. And unless you want to get up to something, they will approach within, talking distance.
That's fine. I've asked them to identify themselves. Yeah. They seem to be doing that, so...
Yeah. So
I'm staying back, similar to their archers. I'm staying back and covering Glarvir essentially at this point.
So there's this negotiation, I suppose, between Glarvir and this armored individual, and there's just like bowmen.
Everyone has a bow, like Glarvir and this guy.
So Glarvir, as this individual comes closer, it was once a rather fine example of human armor craft, but it's been used. It's been not properly maintained for a long time, probably rather. And
I'll probably be tutting as he approaches, because like seeing a suit of armor that's been so poorly kept, just cuts me to the quick.
And the sword, you note, is like a hand and a half sword. It's a long sword, proper long sword, and there's a smaller knife on the other side, on the other hip. Neither of these. Well, no, the smaller knife has the actual like scabbard for it. The like a ring of metal on the hip to put the blade through. It doesn't have like a leather scabbard or anything. And the blade itself is smeared with some kind of black substance that has like bits in it. It's you don't quite know what it is, but it looks kind of like a glumpy, like maybe glue or something that's black and glistening on the blade. It's not like wet as such. It seems.
I'm probably thinking maybe some sort of tree resin or poison, depending on how dishonourable this ill-armoured miscreant is.
Yeah, and so the armored individual walks to I want to say like 30 meters away from you to maintain a distance, and seems to be taking you in, like studying you for a bit.
That's right. I'm not surprised. I'm stood there in like my plate armor with like a shield and an axe.
Yeah, and
you're a dwarf. I'm an elf. They probably have never seen these things before.
Yeah, it's a good shout.
That's because they're too busy breaking oaths of loyalty. That's what that
is. Shoots a glance towards where this individual knows that Tyrael is as well, and there's a voice which because there's the full head helmet, it echoes in an interesting way from within the armor, and there's you think it's possibly a woman. The voice says, "We have not seen your like in such a long time, Mountain Lord. For I think you are one, judging by the way you carry yourself. Is that true?"
That is correct. And who do I have the honor of addressing? I am Glarvir.
I am... And there's a pause. And the shifting of armor. Like this person doesn't make a noise because of the plate mail layered on every limb. I am Katla of the Wretched, though I presume that means very little to you in these days. I doubt they tell our tales in the mountain halls.
Not in the elf forest either.
I'll put that in the chat, by the way.
No, I have not heard of your people. We have been sent into this forest by Lord Bedek.
More like requested to investigate.
Your friend is opinionated. I would speak with you, and raises an arm.
I'd love to, but your archers make me nervous.
Like just spins a hand and like nods towards the branches, and they start like putting their arrows off the string.
Better. And I'll approach that point. I'll keep the bow out back, but I'll keep a hand on that shiny new sword that I picked up last time, just in case. But yeah, I'll approach it.
My comrade fears the cold embrace of death more than I.
I've explained this to you before, Glarvir. We don't... never mind. Anyway, was it Katla was your name?
That is correct.
Katla. I am Tyrael, House Valoris. That does not mean anything to you, of course. I understand.
We have not seen the fair folk in an age.
Well, we tend to stick to our own borders these days. Yes, that's true.
Well, for what it is worth, you are welcome in ours. Not that we have borders to welcome you to.
It's very strange that you say that, Katla, because I was under the impression that these woods were under the command of Essigar. And he was not a very pleasant fellow.
You hear several of the individuals in the branches like almost simultaneously like
Ah, yes, he's not popular with you either. Very good, very good.
Katla like lowers her head, staring at the ground, and says, He was the first among the wretched, a chief. She struggles with the words a little bit. Like she speaks like the usual like human northern dialect, but this is very old. Like she's struggling with like to like make some of the words happen the way that she wants them to. It says Essegar was the foremost of the wretched, and it laughs bitterly. So we are no longer wretched. We are lost. As Essegar has done for us. We are what remains. Sort of like raises up her armored head and like glances at the branches. You've come here for Essegar, then?
Oh, most definitely. He's been very, very bad. You see, stealing villages and leaving undead monstrosities in their wake, etc., etc. He has to go. And besides, even if he was a perfectly good man, we would still need to have words with him because he has caused the people of Vorbek to abscond, and their lord wants them back, and this and that,
and break their oaths of loyalty.
Yes, well, their lord has something we need, etc., etc. It's a long and sordid tale.
Indeed, we require information from Lord Beric, and in return for it, he has tasked us to come here and find out what has happened to the people from Vorbek.
Asked us to come here very politely.
Chronicle raises an arm again and waves to the branches. The folks start. They're very adept. Like this is clearly something they do on the regular. They're very adept with their rope craft. They descend with alarming rapidity using ropes and jumping. And
Indeed,
they come down.
He also asked us to find out what had happened to the men that he sent to originally to investigate.
Well, I'm fairly certain we know what happened with them. They turned coat or whatnot, based on our current information. But
it is not safe here, which is half the reason why we are here too. Would you share a fire with us?
Well,
such as we are.
Well, any enemy of Essegar is a friend of ours. Yes, we would love to.
Thank you.
Cyrodiil!
Yeah, they will lead you to their camp. It's a collection of tents, large and small, all probably locally made, quite rough, but also rugged. They've got, there's like a couple dozen people here altogether. No one else is dressed like Katla is. Yeah, they're all human. They're all clearly humans who've lived in the woods with their own wits and by the bow. Basically,
survivalists.
Yeah. Very.
I just get nervous when I can't see the face of a knight.
And you
in
can't.
A medieval story. You know what I mean?
They once they get to camp, like they start taking off some of their more like disguise oriented stuff. They're all like rugged woods living people. Katla never takes off any armor, and
that's what worries me. That's the part that worries me.
Yes,
that's what I'm saying. That's why I asked the question.
And Katla seems to be like it's not really like Katla is their leader, but as far as they have one, she is
look
one.
To her, right?
Like they seem to, like, no one's telling anyone what to do. Like it's routine. Like it's just everyone knows what needs to be done.
Got it.
Like everyone, you come back with them. They get you some. They've basically made chairs by taking a tree and like just sawing through it, and now you have chairs, and they sit around the fire. it's a cold, gray, late autumn day. It's not that warm at all. They've got a fire going there. Someone's brought back a deer, and they're skinning it in the background. They've got the whole like carcass trussed up, and they're working on it. And so there's like blood and gut stench on the air as the butchering is being done straight over there. But they've got they're offering you some berry drink from the smell of it. Really, they're warming it on the fire as well, and they're adding some herbs onto it as it goes on the pot and
or
in the fire.
kind of
Yeah,
wine.
yeah. It's a like a earthy berry drink of some kind that they're making, and they offer you in carved wooden mugs.
I would like to appraise this brew.
Okay, it's not beer. It's you would almost maybe call it like it goes very close to like a herbal medicine drink. Yeah, it's not beer at all.
And it hasn't been fermented, so clearly,
it's not alcoholic in such a way. But yeah, they offer you this. There's some light banter, and eventually, Katla sits down on one of these seats and says, "So, do I have it correct that Beric is making some kind of advance into the Weald?"
No, nothing like that. It's actually quite the opposite. The Weald is making an advance into his own. Yes, exactly. He has
Beric's people.
taken the village of Vorbek by force, apparently with his own men.
I am sorry, but I do not think you will be able to take them back to Vorbek or anywhere. I fear they may be lost, such as the rest of us were.
You say that, lost, you make mention of the word wretched, and I don't mean to be impertinent, Katla. And where I'm from, normally when one is speaking with their peer, they usually do so face to face, not in armor, unless we're on the battlefield. And all of this leads me to believe that there's things amiss that I'm not quite understanding. Would you care to enlighten us? I would, be curious. I'm a burn with curiosity, of course. I understand it might be a sore subject, but
Essigar was our elder,
the chief,
and there was. I find it hard to find the correct words. Do you mind if I use the old tongue, which is to say, probably the old High Kingdom? Then
do we know it?
You know enough to get by. Like it's. Like you're not going to compose poetry in it.
Right. But we get the gist, right?
Yeah, you can get the gist probably.
We're both like years old. Hell, we at least should know some of it, right?
So she says, there was an advisor, a sort of advisor from the north, from the king. And
I didn't know the north had a king in this region of the world anymore.
She nods.
New development.
It is hard to. There's a bit of like she's losing track a little bit, and then like reels it back in and says, "A herald, advisor, chamberlain of the king came to Essigar when we were still living in the Grey Glade. all of us here. Not me. The wretched. They have taken me for their own, for which I am grateful. The advisor spoke to Essagar, had an offer which Essagar took, and whatever passed between the advisor, the herald, and Essagar, it doomed us all. But again, not me. I was one of the escorts of this herald.
So you were a soldier for this northern king.
As we a soldier, a knight for the protection of the herald.
Mm-hmm.
And Essagar took this bargain and is now a vassal of the king. And it has doomed all in the Weald. Save for, and she like with a clanking, like she turns around and like looks at the surrounding people.
When you say doomed, I'm sorry. I'm going to be very human here for a moment, and I hope you understand. I've been traveling in human company. It makes me less patient than I may have otherwise been. We experienced something back in Vorbek, as our human companion had pointed out. It was necromancy, dark magics wielded by your kind.
the clanking and the shifting as the helmet nods.
Is that the doom that you refer to?
Is a part of it. That
happened to you, Katla?
No. What you found in Vorbek is probably, if you found someone in Vorbek, a body perhaps, that would have been more than likely one of these fire bearers that come into the Weald.
I said to Cameron that it was one of the priests. He didn't believe me.
If they left the body there, it would have been one of them.
Makes a lot of sense. They did seem to have some animus towards them, indeed.
The corpses that you will find here are probably all from the war bands of the Covenant of Fire, which is, that's not their proper name, but that's what Katla says.
Sure, yeah.
They don't. The king doesn't approve, and Essagar doesn't, by extension.
We did get that from the messages they left us in Vorbek.
The curse probably on this is because of the affiliation to the Covenant. Otherwise, they would have been in the Grey Glade, not left in this Vorbek village. The doom of the Weald is there are many dooms, I suppose. The foremost is the allegiance to the king. There will be no one in the Grey Glade that you will be able to, well, I suppose depending on your talents. Everyone who still remains there owes fealty to Essagar or to the king, or both. And it will be very hard for you to undo this. This is the doom that I was referring to. There are several others, but this is the one that brought us down.
What I come from, fealty are oaths generally freely given. Are these some sort of encirclement on these?
The king does not ask for obedience.
Right, he just demands it. Well, he sounds like a lovely gentleman. That's sarcasm, if that wasn't coming across.
It has been some time since humor has really been with us.
Yes, it's a low form of humor. Again, I've been traveling with humans too long. Makes me
You
have
need
strange
not
thoughts.
you need not please me or anyone here. To be honest, I think it is probably for the rest of us here a great relief to recall sometimes that the world outside the Weald exists, because we have
It
lost
does.
ours here.
Tell me, Catler, why do you not take off your helmet?
I am trying to be polite towards you.
In what
I
manner?
am aware that it will offend you if I do take.
I believe
the
she's
helmet.
trying to say her visage is horrific in some manner to the eye.
I have
You will object.
I have seen men cut down and deformed on the ancient battlefields. I fear not your visage, whatever affliction mars it, you will not offend me. Do not feel you have to hide your face away for fear of my vanity or my sensibilities.
Indeed, vanity is something that soldiers do have to give up quite early in their careers, I would say. Even elves.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, if you get like hit in the face, what, what are you gonna do? So she reaches up and like lifts off the helmet, and it's basically devoid of color, sort of malnourished, shrunken slightly. Not the kind
Sunken.
of dry, yeah, not the kind of because we had the gray corpse.
Yeah,
Vorbek.
she's sunken from malnutrition, not being like
a
zombie.
Yeah, she doesn't have the like leathery, dry skin that the corpse had.
That was my main concern, that she was a fucking zombie under there. You know
well, she lifts off the helmet, very unhealthy, like no red basically at all anymore, sunken features, and there's a straight up some kind of light shining a little bit deep in the eye. Like it's not a glare from daylight or whatever. There's an actual something inside the eye is glittering in a natural way. It's not natural.
Kind of like Cameron's eyes, or more like
no,
there's something.
It's not the
inserted.
Cameron's fox eyes where it's the sort of animal glint.
Yeah.
This is almost like an actual pinprick of light.
Now that's
kind of like a star.
I'm thinking like so it's like like in Kushil's dart, like with the little like mote in her eye. That's like the symbol of her god, kind of a thing. Almost.
It's like there's a single distant star buried somewhere deep in each of her eyes, and she's people don't look like this. They don't have something going on with their eyes, and I'm
more amazed and horrified. I'm like fascinated.
As a dwarf with a memory like a steel trap, who is steeped in the depths of folksy wisdom, does this strange appearance mean anything to me in terms of hearsay and legend, etc.?
What would we even roll for this? This is some kind of wise.
I don't know. I just know I've got folksy wisdom.
Folksy wisdom, yeah.
And I have dark wise, if that helps at all.
It does. It does help. So what would be your intent in rolling here? What do you want to find out? If you're rolling dark wise or whatever wise.
Glarvir. Well, I guess whoever's wise is most appropriate.
It'll be you, mate. It'll be you.
Okay. Then what does Glarvir want to know? I guess what we're trying to determine is we want to kind of know what this abnormality might be related to, what we might be looking at here, because obviously we don't that well, other than that they die easy. So it's kind of like, is this related to the darkness? Is she like some kind of creature, or is she been touched by it, or is it some sort of? Is it within the lore? I guess at all.
Something you would have read somewhere.
Yeah, or heard from
in your stories.
In the
right.
So
okay.
Yes.
Let's call it 3. Obstacle 3.
Okay, you're gonna be merciful. Okay. I think it's still pretty hard for my dice, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Okay, so it's a difficult one. All right, we'll give it a shot. I can't afford to spend any more persona, so let's just give it a straight roll. You said it was 3, so
Okay.
Hold on, did I roll any? Yeah, no, nothing of value in there. Yeah, I don't know shit.
This individual might be some kind of like infused with, much like your friend Cameron is. Look, people keep telling him that he's touched by the foxfires. There might be something similar going on here.
But
it's
another kind of god or deity or spirit.
Yeah, something like some power has probably infused this person thoroughly.
Sure.
You have no idea what that might be, but that's your presumption.
But other than looking malnourished and having the silvery star mote in her eye, she looks completely normal.
She looks like either like a malnourished or very sick human being, who probably shouldn't be walking around in full plate in forests,
but does anyway. Got it.
But doesn't seem to have a care in the world. Like she's not ever like exhibited any like exertion noises.
Right. So,
well, I think given given my lack of knowledge, I'm gonna resort to the most obvious method of resolving this mystery, and I'm gonna say, there you are. Your visage does not offend me, and I mean no offence with my question, but I noticed there is something about your eyes. Do you mind if I ask what the meaning of it is? Yeah. Again, I mean no offence.
Is it a blessing from one of your paltry pagan deities or some such?
I think whatever gods we had, they fled long ago.
Well, I mean, I hate to get... Oh, no, maybe I shouldn't. Sorry. I shall remain silent on the topic of religion. I know you humans have a very... you're very passionate on the subject.
I think at this point, because she looks a little bit malnourished, I'm going to, pour off some of the booze out of my keg that's around my waist, and I'm just going to pass some over to her. That's practically a meal in a cup. So
she's going to accept it, nod her head.
Might I inquire? Your appearance belies the seeming vigor behind your form. Are you? Do you require?
There's a passing wretched. Like the dude who's butchering the deer in the background, comes over because he's going to the other side of the camp to put up the skin. Walks by you guys with the blood-soaked skin that he's gonna put up.
Stars above,
just yanks a head towards Katla and says, "She's dead. That's why she looks like she's dead." And
I was trying to be more delicate about it than that. I mean, but she, it's a tough topic when you're...
I'm just going to unfazed say...
the world.
Well, that answers that question. I'm going to clink my cup together with hers. And I have no bias against the dead. It's Oathbreakers I have grievance with.
She, raises the cup. I mean, however,
if you were an elf, this would be completely normal. You die,
puts it down, and takes the helmet back up and starts putting it.
Oh, do you offend the other humans when you don't have your helmet on? Is that why you wear it?
They have taken me in, but it is, as I said, I was one of the guards of this herald, and so I escorted their doom to the Grey Glade.
Well, Katla, so just straighten me out here. So you are not a product of necromancy, you said earlier. Or at least you're not as the creature we, let's just say, dispatched back in Vorbek. So you are something different.
There are many dooms that flow from the king.
I see. I see. So this king is some kind of
The
vile
king,
sorcerer that
the
we just
king
need to
has many
go.
servants, and some of them are like onto like I was. I am now no longer. There's the final curse, which why these people have taken me in, and I will endeavor to do whatever it is to remedy the things that I can never remedy, but I can make a futile attempt at it, saving these people if I can.
If you are indeed now between life and death as it passes for humans.
No, I am. And she trails off.
Well, if you were dead, you wouldn't be dead. You would no longer exist. That's how it works for humans, as far as I understand it.
No, I am past. I am walking dust at this point.
You humans have such a limited perspective of existence.
I am cursed to live here with the things that I have done in the service of a king I never wished to serve.
It's all very dreary.
You say that, Tyrael, but what I hear from my perspective is this is a woman who is attempting to make right what she has done and has such strength in those beliefs and those convictions that even beyond mortal death, she is still attempting to put right the things that she did wrong. And I find that personally very admirable.
Yes, it's very admirable. All very admirable.
Is there anything we can do to help your situation?
I'm simply Glarvir. I'm simply trying to point out that her situation is not quite so depressing as she's making it out to be. But perhaps for humans, this is the worst fate that they could imagine. I don't know.
Is there anything we can do to help you in your state, Katla?
She chuckles. She's got the helmet back on, so it's echoey once again, and she says, "If you would, accompany me to the king, I'm sure we could end several dooms upon the Weald at once, including
I'm very
my
enthusiastic about that, but I mean,
and she's clearly like this is ridiculous."
I'm very enthusiastic about that proposition. I would make a slight modification, Katla. We do have to honor our initial task. It is, of course, shall we say, a matter of global importance. And that's all we can say on the matter for now. However, I think we should just simply start with Essigar, move our way up the chain, as they say. We can hopefully recover the people of Vorbek, return them to their master, and in the process, fill this Essigar with many, many arrows. I mean, that sounds dandy to me. And then, of course, the heralds and advisors, and all the way up to the king himself.
The herald,
many arrows.
The herald and the advisor apologize. They are the same person, and that person is lost. We do not know where that person is. It is the same incident which allowed me to slip free. Is the last time. Advisor.
I like to think as she's like, maybe we could go and visit the king together, and we could visit these dooms. And Tyrael's like, one step at a time. Obviously, I've had a few drinks by now. I think he probably sees me getting out my little knife that I did the oath swearing bit to the to Lord Barrick with.
Bloody oaths! And now I'm even starting to talk like you. I'm spending too many time with the dwarves as well.
And I'm gonna top up both mine and Katla's drinks, and then I'm going to slip my hand. So
I'm drinking the herbal concoction, by the way. I'm fascinated by it. So
It's quite good. It's like mulled wine with less wine and less alcohol. It's
it's like almost like a fruit
It's
punch.
child's pop.
Yeah. It's refreshing though.
I'm gonna let
let
a few drops of my blood go into like both mine and Catalyst cups, and then I'll go.
Oh,
I swear on the
drinking
stones of my ancestors that I will help see an end to your curse.
she chuckles and
no, Carlo, don't laugh. He takes those oaths of his extremely, extremely seriously.
she nods to you, Tyrael, and says, I remember. And in to your ears, Glarvir, she says in old Dwarven, it's like, you need not swear an oath, stone brother.
It is too late. I have sworn it. I have spoken.
She
Her
chuckles,
dwarf is not bad for a human.
sort of good-naturedly almost, and like takes the helmet off once again, a little bit sheepishly, but does it. And there's like an actual mirth to her features, and she takes the cup and, you know, in both hands, like taps it on yours.
I like to think I was all quite merry and drinking, but as soon as like oaths came in, I'm like stone cold serious now.
Yeah, but she's getting merriment out of this now, and she continues in you know, like old form. Like this would be the ye old version of Dwarven modern language, which you know, of course. And it's not like ancient, you know, thousands of years ago, but this is like the old dialect that your like grandparents and their
it's like slightly
grandparents-
archaic in the vernacular.
Like it sounds like Ponzi to like a modern, but not to dwarves, I guess, because dwarves do like their old.
They are Ponzi.
So she says in this like old dwarven dialect, says, "I in that case, stone brother, I accept your oath, though I am unworthy. But for the memory that of the things that our peoples once shared, I will drink with you."
Can I? I hear her speaking Dwarvish.
Yeah,
I don't think I know Dwarvish. I mean, I might know a bit, like enough
probably,
to maybe like,
probably to order kebab.
Yeah. I'd
But,
like, you know,
that's it.
where's the toilet? Can I have a beer?
Yeah.
That's
But she busts out like
but she's
fluent,
like ye
fluent
old.
Dwarvish.
Got it. So I'm just curious at this stage if she's
Mhm.
busted out these surprises and she seems older than her physical appearance, you know, might lend itself to, or she just is from a very archaically educated place. But what I want to do is I want to speak to her in Elvish.
Mhm.
I simply want to say, where'd you learn the languages, essentially, and see if she understands what I'm saying.
She takes a gulp and stares into the fire for a bit, and then, like halting Elvish, says,
Not as good as a dwarf.
"We no. This is her going outside of her actual
Mhm.
expertise." And says, "We little cause, not many wood friends. Usually to discuss with, mostly capital. I would have liked to meet more." And then she just like looks at you with a slowly rising eyebrows, like, did I do it?
I'll say to her in the old tongue, so she feels more comfortable. It's like, we will work on it. I understood what you meant, but yes, we'll have to fill in the gaps in your education. But
mountain people often forest.
Yes, I suppose in your northern country there's more mountains than not, and we never lived in these forests, so
wood friends come and go. Not a lot of trade. Different. And then nods towards Glarvir.
Yes, well, they are more. They were always more into the mercantilism. We don't particularly have any need to do so. We like to do so when we do. Um, sorry, I could talk about the particulars of Elvish culture all day long, but that, of course, is not why we're here.
You can tell no one has any fucking idea what you guys are talking about at the fire. Like
we're speaking like 6 different languages. We're
the rest of the
these
camp
people.
understood nothing of this.
Yeah.
So then, when do we go and see this king?
No. It's Essagar first. You have to go up the chain, Glarvir. Go up the chain. You remember how in the military there was a chain of command? Yes.
Indeed, but if you cut off the head of the beast, the rest of the body will follow.
Yeah, that's true, but not when the head of the beast is protected and insulated and possibly in a mountain fortress somewhere. You start small and build up to it.
Do not speak to me of mountain fortress. My people invented mountain fortresses.
Oh, here we go again with your bloody invention. I mean, you did not bloody invent the mountain fortress. We'd been here long before you carved your first stone.
Yes, in the trees and whatnot.
We have mountain citadels too, you know. Oh, but I'm sorry. We can argue about this later, Glarvir.
True.
I would have liked to
drag our friend into this.
She switches back to Old High Kingdom.
Yeah.
And says, I would have liked to talk to you in, well, before
better
all
times.
This. Before all this.
Yes.
We could have been, I think, perhaps friends. I am not what I used to be, and she's a little bit confused as she talks about this. Like there's, like, either she's like discombobulated or something, but there's, like, she's a bit off. I enjoy hearing the vitality in your words.
I'm going to become very serious for a moment, and then in Dwarven, I'm going to say to her, in a slightly sorrowful sort of tone of voice, obviously your current condition pains you. Do you wish that pain to be ended?
If I was to kneel down and you were to put your axe in my neck, it would be but days and I would be here again.
I see.
My curse is extensive. And she is like entirely, like, she's talking to you, she's understanding your words, but she's like rapidly sinking into her own whatever internal world she has.
At which point, still continuing in Dwarven, I say, then how might we find a way to help you move on to whatever waits for your people after this life?
I need to get to the king. I need to. We can't go. We need many things. We need swords. We need an army. We can't defeat the king.
And I'll switch back into sort of like the old tongue at this point, so Tyrael can understand it. And I'll say, well, if you believe an army is needed to end the king and thus your curse, perhaps we could seek the aid of Lord Beric.
We can't send. No, there's no one who can go. They will end up serving the king. It is too powerful. The king is too powerful.
No. If he's human, then he's not too powerful for
the men from the warriors, the war band. They all serve Essagar now. If they came into the Weald, they all serve Essagar now, and Essagar is. And she like had revved up, and then she's like looking at the rest of the people in the camp who are also looking at you guys talking now, and she's like, as Essagar is a problem for us here, and he has destroyed the wretched, and the king is much worse. And it's a unfathomable stroke of luck that I am here now, that I could slip the leash.
Well, I think I've heard enough, Glarvir. I think we should proceed with our original intention, which is to find this Essagar and remove him from this earthly existence, and hopefully recover the people of Vorbek. And then, do as we did in Vorbek. We find more information, we go up the chain, and eventually we're in the King of the North's hall and everyone's dead but us.
I agree.
It's long term. We have to think a little bit more long term. You and I have decades to play this out if we wanted to. I mean, obviously, for our human companions and such, we should, of course, expedite this as much as we can. But, Cutler, are you capable of at least pointing us in the direction of Essagar without this geese or curse overwhelming you and you becoming a mindless slave?
I don't think Essagar can.
Only the king
Touch me anymore.
can do this to you.
He's not strong enough.
Well, he's not going to be around much longer anyway. So.
You are off to the Grey Glades then. That is where the wretched used to live. And there's an intense melancholy because these people are talking about this is where our people used to live, our extended family / everyone we knew. Mm-hmm. And we no longer have our home, and everyone is dead or somehow working for these people now, and we can't go back home. And even if we did, all we end up doing is killing our friends and family. So it's as this discussion goes on, there's a pall on the camp.
So I guess moving us forward, I suppose, our only other objectives in the conversation at this stage would be to get a sense of the situation in this glade. Where it is, what forces does Essagar command, roughly numbers, and who we should avoid immediately killing unless they, kind of give us no other choice. Because it sounds like it's kind of a mixed situation. There's people we can kill for sure, and obviously Essagar, anyone who's armed who tries to stop us. But it sounds like there's civilians from these folks' previous life that we don't want to kill if we can avoid it, essentially, right? So, yeah, I mean, assuming we know that information, we can go in whenever.
They'll be able to point you in the right direction. It's to the west, quite a distance, but they are able to talk talk to you about the directions, and it basically is going to boil down to you figuring it out by stars, because it's a big forest, and that's the one thing that you can reliably sort of look at as a landmark, because otherwise it's trees.
Yeah. Well, I have that orienteering thing. I don't have the astrology one, I don't think.
Oh, you don't need astrology. Orienteering is what you need.
Okay, yeah. So we can get there if we need.
So orienteering is something we can do.
Yeah.
Now. So you could discuss about the Grey Glade, and you get some detail on it. The Grey Glade is a swamp in the Weeping Weald, and
kind of like a cold version of home for me, really. Then
it's made by this isn't recent, but the swamp is fed by like diverting some water from one of the sources of the great river here. So there's like some water by some means originally started to come down into the Weeping Weald, and it formed a swampy expanse. And it's apparently very easy to tell because all the great pines there died, because that's not their preferred method, and they're all very old and dead and gray, hence the gray glade. And at the center of this gray glade, sort of dead pine tree swamp, is an old High Kingdom watchtower, which is the sort of central point of the Grey Glade settlement. You're told that the town itself is built into the trees, so they have platforms built into the trees. There's bridges, both like wooden and rope.
Elevated high,
it's elevated,
like Ewok Village high, basically.
Yeah, it's not quite that high, but it's like several meters off the.
It's not just up off the water. It's like
it's actually raised up a bit to cover some of the animals and both the water as well. Like if
that would do it,
but yeah, that's what you can find out about the village itself. It is, it was never an actual town, but it was a watchtower and its center, and then people built this settlement into the trees around the tower. And it also serves as a fairly good like defensive position in the like you can't walk into the town because the town ain't on the ground. And
there's ways around that.
Yeah, but
I have some ideas.
Yeah, probably involving some elven stuff.
It's going to be bad for Glarvir, but he's going to have to adjust.
So anything you want to do with the wretched here? For example, and anything you want to like more information on any particular topic, talk more to Katla about some specifics, anything you want to do in the camp?
I think the only thing that really interested me was what sort of forces Essigar had. Obviously, we kind of now know the layout of the territory, how they could have possibly arranged their forces. That watchtower probably is going to feature into that pretty heavily.
Probably the strong point.
Yeah, exactly. Probably what passes as a fortress or or a redoubt in this.
Yeah, where you pull back if you need to.
Yeah. So probably
Helm's deep.
Yeah, taking that is probably the first priority, actually, really. But other than getting inside, but roughly speaking, do they know the numbers of troops they have? That I imagine, but
you talk to some of the wretched, and they're able to tell you roughly about the kind of numbers that used to live there. So maybe a couple hundred to start with. Some of them will have died, both in the original struggle when it became apparent that something was going very wrong, and also in the intervening period. But also, apparently, if Essigar is grabbing entire villages from the forest edge, it's basically anyone's guess.
Right. So presumably, if we take just a normal figure for numbers and sort of thing, even if they somehow manage to press gang the healthy men into a sort of a force, we're probably talking of something. If it's only a couple hundred people, we're probably talking on the order of 25 to 50 guys. Plus, we have to take into account the mercenary soldiers that were sent by Lord Barrick, who now we're going to regret having those guys around. So probably more closer to 50 than 25. Let's say. I think it's probably a good figure.
It's a good guess.
Yeah, it's a good guess from our Okay. That's. I'll say to Glarvir, I'm comfortable with that number. I mean, I think I can do for 30,
25.
35. You can do the rest. Right?
Yes, it sounds
You
doable.
you can do 15. You can do 15 humans in a go, right? I mean,
Yes, should be doable.
they're just humans. I mean, I'm not trying to be offensive, but their advantage was always that they multiplied like rabbits versus ourselves. Never in the martial prowess of each individual human. Um, well, I do have some ideas on how we can get into this place once we get there. I mean, I'm prepared to go now, and you know,
No, lead on.
spread some joy in this miserable forest. Forests are meant, even cold and wet ones like this, are meant to be places filled with life, whether life is crawling or chirping in the air or dotting about doing their business in the wood, not whatever this place is. I mean, Weeping Weald indeed. But yes,
Also,
let's proceed.
you will have learned something about that as well, just in passing, because you spent a bunch of time there. It's called the Weeping Weald because indeed Glarvir was kind of on point. People throughout history here, they do a lot of crafts with the trees. Surprise, surprise, it's a forest. But they do stuff with the resins. And you gather resin from trees such as these by making them literally weep. And it's the name of the forest because this is where people have harvested resin for a long, long time. Yep. And what was I going to say? Right. So you're intending to
We have an Essicar to find.
Yeah.
I'm so motivated now too. This is good.
You're making to leave, and Katla, fully armored, says, "I would walk with you."
By all means.
I was already going to have difficulty with one armored individual. Now there's going to be two of you. Oh, well, maybe that can still work. I don't know.
There's nothing in the forest that can kill me, if that's what you're worried about.
No. I'm more concerned about us getting into this abandoned village, the Gray Glade, you called it, or whatever it was.
It will not be abandoned. It is the seed
Well,
of Azagar.
it's abandoned by anyone who we don't want to shoot in the face, right? Well, more or less.
It is.
Yes, I know.
A place where everyone knows fealty to the king. That is correct.
Well, they're going to know fealty to something else very shortly. At least I hope. I haven't come all this way and not to shoot something.
She looks at Glarvir and your friend is very warlike.
I believe he's just keen to see action.
Did she speak to that in Dwarvish, or did I hear
No. In old hiking.
Oh. It's not that I'm warlike, although I am. Let's face it. When you serve as long as I've served, you have to become a little warlike. But no. I simply am keen to visit justice upon this Essigar. He's gained my ire.
Shall we go then?
Indeed. Let us sally forth.
Oh, yes, very good, Glarvir. Using the big words, I approve. That shall go into the song that I intend, the chapter of the song that I'm writing. Yeah. I'm expecting big things of you in this Glarvir.
Well, I will endeavour not to disappoint, my friend.
Oh, don't worry. You won't.
Katla goes around, talks to a number of the wretched, and shakes some hands. There's a couple hugs. And there's a couple of people who look very pleased that she's leaving with you. And off you go then, into the Weald once more. Now, as you go, Katla mentions that there's going to be danger as we go. The unfortunate thing is the covenant of these fire bearers has been very insistent on wading into the Weald. They have supplied a lot of bodies.
Oh, so we're going to find more of those husks that we dispatched back in Vorbek, is what you're saying.
You say dispatched, I presume it moved then.
Well, he had this, and I show her the sword, and I have to say I was a bit enchanted by it. I felt like a dwarf myself when I laid my eyes on it.
Yes,
so
it moved. Forth, it moved briefly.
You're ruining the.
Can I see
he gets
that sword?
He gets to have a speech and go on about his oaths, and I can't even tell once yet. Yes, I will produce the sword as I'm ranting and raving about how I don't get to tell a single story.
Yep.
Here, give it to her.
She nods and says, I know this sword. It is the sword of Ezekar. I would.
It's mine now.
I would suggest you leave with the wretched. It vitally belongs to them. Ezekar has forsaken them.
Oh, so this was their object. It was part of their cultural.
It was the chieftain's sword.
Oh, well, when we dispatch Essigar, they're going to need a new chieftain, so he'll need this sword. Yes. Well, I mean, I hate to just give it away, but it is beautiful. But it is, of course, not mine. And if it is theirs, they should have it.
They would be very pleased to have it, I believe.
Glarvir, I have an idea. I'm going to take the sword from Katla and I'm going to present it to Glarvir. Why don't you return it to them? And I'm going to sit back here and watch and memorize every detail. Oh, and if you could drop in a line about how love conquers all or something like that, that would be really.
He says as he hands the greedy dwarf an ancient sword.
I know. We went through this already, though. You passed your roll for it. Come on now.
Why shouldn't it be mine?
It shall be an heirloom of my kind.
Oh, we went through this already.
Yeah, assuming my role for like resisting the greed of the swords.
It carries on. Also, another thing about Burning Wheel, there's a rule called Let It Ride. Yeah, that's the one. So we roll once for each thing, and it carries on until things change. So you're good to go for the sword for now.
Okay, yeah. So I'll head up to the remnants of the wretched. And I'm going to approach. So we've spent a bit of time with him.
Yeah.
I'm going to approach whoever seemed to be like the person in charge, apart from Katla.
Yeah, I'm going to say that is going to be Fengel. I'll put that in the chat.
Was he the one who was like, she's dead?
Yeah, Fengel is the butcher, the tanner around the camp.
Oh, we're gonna give the sword to the twatty one. Of course we are.
Well, he as is his trade, he cuts close to the bone.
Nice.
So I'm gonna walk up to him and then I'm gonna say, so I've already forgot what Tyrael asked me to say. I'm going to walk up and I'm going to say, as a sign of goodwill from our band to your people and the hope for better times in your future, we return what is rightfully yours, and I'll give him the sword.
Yeah, you offer up the sword.
Oh, and
Fangor,
by the way, my friend Tyrael says that love conquers all.
I think you, in the background, I think you hear me just
rubbing
like
the temples.
like grinding the bone.
Fango reaches out with a just blood-stained hand.
And although my friend Tyrael may be flowery in his words, and us dwarves prefer to demonstrate our goodwill through actions rather than words, let the action of returning this be a sign of friendship between ourselves and yourselves.
He takes the sword with his blood-stained hands by the blade and gets some of the blood on the engraving and spits on it and wipes it off to read the text. And he holds it to the side with one hand and reaches towards you, Glarvir, with the other, and offers a forearm handshake.
Yeah, I accept and I return the sort of warrior's handshake.
And Thangel says, "We don't have much, but you're welcome to our fires and to our friendship.
The kindness and the friendship you have shown us is already more than sufficient payment.
And if need be, if there's spear din to be had, I think we would be friends on that battlefield, dwarf."
Indeed. And it is my hope that our larger mission, which we do for the benefit of all people, dwarves, elves, and men, may see us all fight together for the greater good in the future. Until then, be well.
I look forward to those days, dwarf.
As do I. And then
Do not forget us, for we shall not forget you.
Have no fear. My mind is like the tempered steel of the ancient dwarven strongholds.
My mind is an iron trap.
I will not forget. I will not forget the kindness or the goodwill that your people have shown us. Be well, Fangle, and then we'll switch up my cloak. I turn and walk back to the rest of them.
Before Glarvir rejoins me and Katla, I just would like a couple of brief comments. Really. I'll say this to Katla. It's like, he never listens. He never listens. I'm trying to compose. Never mind about that. We'll tell you about that later. But what is this? What is this thing? Who is this person with this sword? Why? What are they? I mean, I know that it's their property and all, but they really don't. They're not really treating the sword with the reverence it deserves. It's hard to watch. It's hard to watch.
There are people who lost everything. They're going to take a sword and use it like a sword is used.
Humans. Oh, just what I think. I finally I've seen something from you. A spark of wisdom or a moment of clarity in your brief, clearly miserable lives, and then it is all taken away from me. It is enough to make me depressed.
I like to think at this point, partly to satisfy Tyrael, I'm going to sort of as I've done the half turn away from Fangar, I'll sort of stop and look back, and I'm going to say, as he's been doing, we might fight on the battlefield in the future. I'm going to turn back to Fangar and I'm going to say, tell me, Fangar, what is it that you and your people fight for?
Oh, wait 1 second. This could be good.
Everyone who raises arms has a cause that they strive towards. Something that keeps them going when all else seems to be darkness around them. What provides that light for you and your people?
These lands used to once be something else. We're not many, but I was told when I was little, I was told stories of our people when we were not called the wretched. I would see us return to those days.
Your love of your people does you credit, and at this point, I'm going to take out the like necklace, like brooch thing I wear that has the picture inside it, and I'm going to say, in the spirit of friendship and honesty, which I prize above all else, this is who I fight for, and I sort of open up the clasp of it, which has got the picture of like Tyrael inside, and I would say, she is the light that guides me in the darkness.
And what a bright smile that is.
Indeed.
I'm happy for you, friend.
Thank you. It is my hope that if I continue to fight and prove myself worthy, that one day we may be together again. And then
Seems to me like you're one of the decent people in this world.
I clasp it shut and sort of like drop it down under like my chainmail. And say, with any luck, we may both forge through this dark night to see the light of a new day. Be well. And then I turn and carry on walking away.
And Katla says, as they exchange their last words, Katla says to Tyrael, like, people in the south have called these people the wretched their whole lives, generations back. It does very little to uplift them. Lord Beric, from what I've heard of these people, is no friend of the wretched. So when he is sending people into the Weald to look for his own, that has naught to do with them. They can only expect woe from Beric as well.
I can understand.
They are caught between the king and the rest of the lands.
From what I observe, Katla, if we do our work here and we do it well, then they will have restored to them what they most deeply desire anyway. And in a generation or two, they can tell the likes of Beric to piss off, I believe is the colorful expression Glarvir likes to use. And for such as us, and yourself included at this moment in time, at the very least, we have time to see that beautiful miracle come to pass.
It has come to pass once in the past.
It can be so again.
Perhaps. I would like to see that again.
Well, then let's be about making it happen.
Let us go. And then we away into the woods. Now, we don't have a lot of time left because we want to be conscious of that. But
we got 11 minutes.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and probably like the Grey Glades is beyond the bounds of this session. So we'll focus on whatever comes before that, which is
if we hit anything on the road.
Yeah, getting there. So well, who knows? If we just ace this, we'll get to.
I haven't aced shit tonight.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
You keep throwing 3s and 4s at me, bro. I can't beat that shit with a 1 and a 0.
Mm-hmm. So, please lead on. I suppose it's going to be Tyrael leading, but please let me know otherwise.
Oh, I'm atop my mighty Seardol and all, so. But yes, I'd imagine with the Song of Paths and Ways, that'll be us trying to find our way to this glade based on Katla and the Wretched's instructions.
Yeah.
I would like to suggest, obviously feel free to tell me that I can't do this. I have, since obviously we're planning on like how we're going to approach this, I would like to suggest that perhaps I could assist with like campaign-wise, because I'm used to planning out sort of like military operations, which is effectively what we're doing.
Yeah.
So although like when it comes down to like the actual leading and getting us there, it's Tyrael. So I'll be offering sort of like advice, like maybe we should approach from this side, given the layout of.
Yeah, definitely. And I had some ideas how we could infiltrate in, but obviously, like with campaign wise, we might be able to set up our maneuvers potentially a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works in this system though, but we'll figure it out.
It's exactly like this. So we benefit from Glarvir's expertise with actual campaign, movements, and your actual applicable in the moment knowledge of how to orienteer. So Glarvir can give you a helping die.
Yes, you get an extra dice.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to apply it right in this situation too. Okay, that works for me. Yep. So what difficulty would you like to throw at me this time?
So let's actually, because this is a different one.
And this is a fixed location, so I have to imagine it's got to be a 4 at least, right?
Yeah, it's about. But yeah, when you think about it, every location is fixed, but it's going to be.
Yeah, you know what I mean, though. It's like major landmarks of town.
I was being stupid. So
choose my words more carefully next time, then, Johannes.
You have chosen poorly.
Yeah, there you go.
Only the penitent man shall pass.
It's fucking brilliant music. Love it.
Oh, it's the rhyme of Path and Ways, isn't it?
Well, no, it's Song of Path and Ways and then Rhyme of the Pathfinder. They're two different things.
Song of the Path and Ways doesn't exist, so.
Am I wrong in the?
I think it's rhyme. I'm trying to.
Hold on. Let me just double check.
Oh no,
it.
Song of the Paths and Ways. That was incredible. Okay, so Song of the Paths and Ways is exactly the thing that we're.
I stared at these things a lot, so I thought I was right.
Yeah. No, I mix up rhyme and song all the time.
They are, like I said, and they repeat throughout our. Yeah. I'm an elf. I sing.
Orienteering.
Yes.
So we're going to find our way in an unfamiliar land. We don't have like specifics on that. So 3 is your obstacle.
Okay, bear with me 1 second. I had a point I wanted to make, but I have to see if it's already covered by something else. Hold on 1 second. Where are all those thingamabobbers? There we go. No, that applies. Okay, so I suppose I couldn't. There is no mechanic for this on my sheet, but I suppose I can't make a ploy for a benefit or advantage given that forest, and I know it's an unfamiliar forest, but forests are sort of my jam.
Yep. If you would benefit from that, you would have the forest wise skill, which would get you the ability to fork that in. If you have forest wise, you can add the die.
Do I have that one, or did I not get that? Was I not able to get that one? We'll triple check. I have a bunch of wises, but I didn't take that one. My elf ranger wise might apply here.
No,
but
you're not.
But I think it's more specifically to the organizations or using of that.
This would be you looking at an elven ranger and determining things.
Hey, I'm gonna get that force wise skills then. That's the next thing.
That's it. I mean that applies
along with
every forest. So,
okay, I want that then. Yeah. So real quick aside, I know we're running a long time, but real quick aside, because I'm still learning the system. So then how would I then go about trying to learn that skill? Is that something I definitely want to learn now?
You would determine things. You would either want to, because there's 2 ways to use wises.
Yeah.
One, which is to ask me information about something, which is in this case, like you ask me questions about this forest. So for example, you would like to determine, there's an arrow straight path from the wretched camp to the Grey Glade. You could try and determine that information as a statement. Like I want this to be true, and I want to roll my forest wise to understand the straight path from here to there.
I have no dice in that. So
and or like hard. I want to determine that in the Weeping Weald, a specific kind of healing herb exists, like grows here. You could try and make that be an actual truth by being forest wise. Or you could ask me questions about the Weeping Weald, as in, are there any usable herbs here in the Weeping Weald that we
actually
could use?
would fit because I have a song that uses herbal as
Yeah.
I have the herbalism song basically.
So basically, you either make statements about forests and want them to be true through the Y skill, or you ask me questions about the forests. Is how you get that skill.
Okay,
Same applies to every context, by the way, as well. So dwarf wise, you make statements and ask questions about dwarves.
right. And same thing with like learning the dwarf language. Basically, I could like say that me and Glarvir are trying to like work on my grammar, and
there's things for that. There's a whole separate thing for you learning by being taught by Glarvir.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
So here's how I'll go then. I think I would use my orienteering with help from Glarvir to make the roll. So that's a 3, you said, right?
3 obstacle, yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
Making your way through an unfamiliar land is what the 3 represents. And should you fail, you will have an unfortunate encounter with.
Yeah, no. I'm going to spend a persona on that.
with the Covenant folks who insist on coming to the Weald.
The husks. Yeah. I spending some persona on this because I'm not confident at all that even a 5 is going to be good enough to beat a 3 at this stage. Where we're rolling tonight.
It's not guaranteed by any means, as we saw. There we go.
Oh, finally, someone succeeded at a roll in this game.
2 6s, no less.
Yeah, there you go.
So Glarvir, what is your
that was totally worth doing.
Why am I blanking on this?
My campaign wise is 3.
Okay, so that's a difficult check for you then.
Sweet.
Yeah, and it's difficult as well for me. So
no, it's a routine.
Is it routine for me?
Yeah, it says it on the thing.
With a
because the obstacle is 3, you already have a base that is higher than 3, so it will be in the routine because especially because you have an extra die, so your actual number that you're comparing is 5.
That works for me. I need to build up routines.
Whereas I presume it counts as more difficult for me because I don't actually have the skill. I'm just helping with something else.
And that is why it's very beneficial to always help people because you not only do you get advancements, but also you get tied into the fiction. So that's fine.
Definitely.
So what happens is you make your way across the Weeping Weald to the west. So you're not progressing north where the road goes. So you cross the road, and already because you're now deeper in the Weald, you do notice once you cross the road, there's not only a little bit more architecture going on. You can see remnants of statues. So basically, you see like a pedestal and a pair of legs that are chopped off at half shin. And the rest of the sculpture is nowhere to be seen. There's detritus of decorations like that starting to dot around the great road. And also some bodies. So you see basically just like struck down, butchered bodies wearing various combinations of rusted and destroyed armor, clothing pieces. You see necklaces here and there, Covenant symbols on both like tabards and the necklaces. You see a path appear as you near where you've been told that the Grey Glade is. And Katla warns you that we need to go around this because this is the path of sacrifice, and if we have managed to skirt around the corpses that might be dangerous and not just dead and rusted metal, this one might not be so. And you can see in the distance, especially with your elf eyes, you can see trees with bodies fastened on them. However, these are not like uniformly absolutely huge like the person was in Vorbek. Some of them are a little bit bigger than the others, and but no one reaches the 8 feet that you saw in there. But you make it to the edges of the gray glade. You see at a respectable distance, because you're keeping, in, sort of safe distance and a little bit on the down low. You see the swamp. It's not the hugest swamp you've ever seen, but it's, fair enough. You can fit a town in the swamp or over it. It's dead, huge pine trees, and you can see the town built above the water. It looks a little bit rickety, as it would be in this environment where they're not exactly having access to high quality carpenters all the time. But you can see the town of Grey Glade now hovering over, suspended over the swamp. It looks like a bad situation with the nature. Like this ground hasn't like fully adapted to the fact that now it's swamp. It's being fed by water that naturally wouldn't be here, but it's being diverted here from somewhere way up high, and a lot of the nature has died because it wasn't the kind that was supposed to be in the ground as wet as this is, including the big trees, which are just like black dead fingers now sticking up from the ground, propping up this this town. And in the midst of it all, you can see this watchtower, which rises, or used to rise rather, probably above the canopy, but it's been slightly collapsed at the top now, being of old High Kingdom manufacture. And you can see people going about. They look like they're, your average woods dwelling people, but there's a couple you spot here and there who are just like standing around, a little, slack-jawed, clearly not okay. Whatever has befallen them has done a number on them. But it seems to be like a place where people live. They have a thing going. It's not like there's joyous, the tavern noise reaches you. No, none of that happens. It's not a joyous place, but people do still move about. They live, they make repairs to their houses, that sort of thing. You can tell this from the distance. And Katla says as well, like, before we go in, what do we do? Do you just want to strike at Essagar?
I mean, the general idea would be to destroy Essagar and any of these abominations that are floating around. Hopefully free the people, if that's even possible, and go from there. But we should, of course, come up with a plan as how we even get into this. I mean, it's not like we can just walk in. So I have some thoughts. I know Glarvir will have some input. We're going to come up with a plan and go from there.
Glarvir, any last words? I was going to ask, but that's a bit ominous.
Boom, boom, boom.
That's fine. If it's that ominous, I get extra dice. So. Well, my thoughts would be to skirt the edge of the village to get as much reconnaissance information as we can. Then once we have more information, we'll be able to formulate a clearer plan, a strategy.
Yes. I have an idea of how we can get in, and then proceed from there, assuming that we can identify where our target is, which I suppose will be my job before we move at night, because it will have to be at night. Going in the day would be silly, which is the three of us.
That's fine, as long as we have the moonlight, we will be fine. And I'll sort of look at Calla with the implication of like, how are you in the dark? Because I don't know what weird like funky undead eyes do in the dark.
Yeah, does that moat in your eye allow you to see in the darkness? Because that would be very useful for us.
I don't know what you're talking about, but
have you not looked in a mirror?
Can you see in the dark, Calla?
Oh yes, the night doesn't bother me.
Oh, fantastic. We're sorted then. Yes. Well, I'll do a little scouting at twilight, so as everyone starts to go in for the day, and then we can, we should always strike when they're hitting their stride to sleep. Humans are very funny when they're awoken in the middle of the night.
Yes, I agree.
There's
Tyrael,
going to be some of these will be awake.
Yes,
and not
yes, I'm
sleep.
sure there's abominations or whatever.
I think
We'll work it out.
I think Tyrael has the right of it. He goes in, scouts around using his elven ways, and he finds out
I do have my ways.
Indeed, he finds out as much as he can, returns to us here, and then once we have more information, we can then decide on the best approach. I suggest in the meantime, Catelyn, myself, and you hold here, and we allow Tyrael to do his work.
I am in agreement. You take the lead. I am at less risk. She nods.
I'm going to put like a sort of, in the sort of style of my coarse persuasion and stuff like that. I'm going to sort of like clap Tyrael on the shoulder and I'm going to say, "Good hunting to you, Tyrael. And should you fall while you are scouting, I swear I will avenge your death."
Oh yes, while I appreciate the sentiment, I should be fine unless these abominations, suddenly are superhuman. Then I might actually be a challenge.
Well, they are sort of superhuman. We've already seen that.
You dispatched it very quickly.
Well, yes, but it was nailed to a tree, so it was somewhat limited.
We unnailed it.
All I'm saying to Red is be careful, my friend.
I shall be careful.
If you run into trouble, shall you shout? How do we know how to come to your aid?
Oh, don't worry. You will know.
Very well then. I would say good luck, but it has abandoned these lands, so
Say it anyway.
Go with the craft of your people.
Oh, well, I like that. She's very polite, this one. We should definitely find a way to, fix her and everything like that. Take her with us.
I was half expecting when you were like, "She's very polite," this one, just for like fucking Vangle or whatever his name, Fangle, to like stick his head up behind the tree. "She's dead."
Fucking dead, mate.
She's fucking dead, mate.
Yeah, just like follows her around like ringing a bell. "She's dead, dead,
dead, dead, dead."
I should warn you before you go. There is more than likely the other one who was guard to the Herald now disappeared.
So another one of you.
More than likely now guarding Essagar. And more than likely Essagar is no longer their chief, but something else.
Right. Well, let's find out, and then we shall plan accordingly. If I have to burn this place to the ground, they can always rebuild it.
I do have something for that.
Ooh. I really, honestly, Glarvir, I'm starting to like her far more than Cameron. We should definitely keep her around for future reference.
Who is Cameron?
He's our human friend. He's not here. We sent him back to get. We wanted an army, but now I'm not sure we do.
We sent him back to give our report to Berek on what we'd found so far before we entered your area.
Before we knew quite just how poorly things are here, but we'll have to deal with that when the time comes. So.
Well, I suppose once we are done with this, we need to deal with Berek.
Well, no.
Unless the people in the south have changed their tune.
Don't get ahead of yourself. We still have your king to take care of and all this stuff. Where's the list? There's a chain. It's a very long chain. We have to go link by link.
Lots of people to shoot with a bow, is it?
Indeed.
Before the day is done.
Well, anyway, let us begin.
Okay, so I guess with that, we're going to call it there. And
Indeed.
Katla and Glarvir will, be behind a pine tree.
Yeah, we'll be like braced, ready for the sound of like,
Like,
guys.
it's like that meme where the guy's like
Exactly.
behind the tree.
Help! They're not nailed to the tree anymore.
We're waiting for like the signal.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
And Tyrael, skulks off into the night.
Excellent.
Hopefully fading twilight at this stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like it's quieting down as well. Like that's an important part to note. Like
That was what I was waiting for.
Yeah,
I'm not
it's
gonna
not
go
like
in
like
and-
activity going on as if like no one cared. No.
yeah.
Well, thank you very much for running that. Very much enjoyed it.
There's that. A lot of talking, but I think we are pretty well set up now. And unfortunately, we won't have Matthew next time, but we will.
We have Matthew's replacement, however, now.
To be fair, that does sort of work as well, because it'd be a bit weird if we're like in the middle of
That's
this
it, we're
forest
still
about to
eating.
go into this other, and he just suddenly popped out from behind
Yeah,
a tree.
yeah.
I delivered the message, guys.
Yeah, I'm here now. No, I think it works quite well with the narrative as well. That like after we deal with whatever this is, if we actually manage to deal with it,
We will.
I think it works quite beautifully. Like Cameron comes into the narrative back after the smoke is settling down. Is like, hi guys, I did the thing. What happened here? I think that'll work quite beautifully. Right. Okay. We'll call it there and pick up
Excellent.
next time.
I'll end the stream here. Thank you again for running it. Very much enjoyed it.